Hello and welcome to the big show with Pete Selby alongside Sam Cook and James Terrell. Now, we are talking all things Leicester on the big show. If you're watching via YouTube, hello. If you're listening via Apple or via Spotify, then welcome to the big show. We're talking about the result on Sunday against Sheffield Wednesday, the result just now in the League Cup, the defeat to Huddersfield on penalties. But also, I think at this stage of the season, it's really just a wider conversation about what's going on with the side, how it needs to be cut down, how players need to be sold, brought in, etc., etc. So it's just a wide conversation for the next half an hour with James, Sam, and myself. First port of call, if you haven't subscribed to YouTube, go onto YouTube and make sure you click subscribe. And you can watch the 4 shows now: the big show, the preview, the FPL show, which was fantastic the other day with Matt Elliott, finished 186th out of 11 million. Absolutely ridiculous. So if you want some tips, then there's the best place. And also the Champions show, which we haven't done yet, but we've got some big plans for, talking all things what happened 10 years ago. Where were you? And we're going to do it all the way through the season. So we'll start off with the players signed, etc., in the first couple of games, and we'll do one every like 2 or 3 weeks, etc. So looking forward to that. So we've got these 4 shows. You can listen if you want, the old-fashioned way, but make sure you click on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe. And also, we're going to have some funky competitions coming up soon, some prizes to be won, and you may need to be subscribed on YouTube to enter. That's all to come, lads. But let's talk all things Leicester. So a win on Sunday against Sheffield Wednesday, poor Sheffield Wednesday, all the stuff off the field, etc. And then we lose tonight. Now, first of all, I don't care that we lost tonight, because an away trip to Sunderland in the next round, that didn't sound like fun at all. You never want to lose, but I suppose losing in this way, I mean, Stoyarchek, he got so close to every single penalty, really, didn't he? It was ridiculous. I'm not really bothered, because we'll talk about individuals performing. And again, I think still at this stage of the season, unless their players are going to be moved on, I'm not too worried about that. But I think the whole conversation, I don't think we'll just go into topic. We're just going to have a big old convo about it. We'll start with Sam. First time I think you've been on this season, Sam. So welcome back to the podcast on the big show. First of all, how do you feel as a Leicester fan right now? I'm quite buoyed, really, because we knew some of the players were going to be too good for this league. And I think we saw that on Sunday in fits and starts. The squad, so much it needs to be cut down, doesn't it? Players need to leave. Some players need to be sold. And there's areas of the field where Cifuentes really needs to sort out in terms of who are going to be the first choice. Well, for me, centre-halves, really. I think that's one of the main areas. But what do you think at this current time after tonight's result and how we sit with the squad?
Yeah, cautiously optimistic. I'm not getting carried away. I think, yes, definitely our squad is pretty unbalanced. I think, yeah, we definitely need to move on some players. We need to move on the right players, and we need to keep the right players too. I'm very nervous about all the news around Abdul Fatawu being courted. I think if we were to lose him, we would be in a lot of trouble. I just don't know where the goals are going to come from. I don't really trust Daka and Ayew, one of them to start every game. I know it's the Championship, but I think I'm not sure about Daka. Ayew, I think, is a really good player when used in the right way. I don't think he's the main man. I think he's got great experience and excellent grit. And I think we saw in the second half against Wednesday when he just slowed the tempo down. He knew exactly when to go and exactly when to hold the ball up. He did that really well. He did that to a point again today against Huddersfield, coming deep. I have absolutely no idea what the formation was when we finished the game. I think it might have been a 3-6-1. No idea, but Ayew was going everywhere and trying to get involved. But
it's a formation. It's a formation,
Sure. Midfield, a lot of question marks. I think, was it Jono last week that described it as rank?
Yeah, I think it's a good description, actually. I mean, we're gonna come on to the midfield. I mean, I don't want to say anything rude on the show, but we'll go with rank, Sam. That's a good word.
Centre half, I think you said, we've not figured out what our best thing is, but at least we've got options there. I think, between Vestergaard, Fass, Akoli, Ben Nelson, I think did all right today. A few wayward passes, but he's a big lad. For starting against a hungry team, I think he did pretty well, all things considered. And of course Harry Souttar got a squad number as well, so he's in there somewhere.
I mean,
So yeah,
the picture of Harry Suter is amazing, isn't it? In the kit, I mean, he just looks like he's still on a night out.
yeah. So yeah, I think centre half is one where we've got some got plenty of options that we just don't really have in other areas of the pitch, especially sort of central midfield and up front.
Absolutely, James, and again yourself. Then, like, just an overriding factor or thought at the moment about what happened on Sunday, what happened tonight, and where you currently stand with the squad. Are you happy with how we performed in the last couple of games, and where in the squad, really not really on the field, but on the squad, do you think needs either trimming, changing, or you think just needs to be kind of sorted out who's actually going to be playing in those positions?
Well, I think the first half performance on Sunday was really poor and lacked. It felt a bit like the kind. I mean, I suppose it was the first day of school, but it really did feel like they weren't putting in much effort, or they thought that Wednesday were just going to fold. Having not played any pre-season and the kind of toxic dynamics around the club. But I mean, Wednesday played quite well in the first half, certainly for the first 20 minutes. They pressed us really well. We did a lot better when Harry Winks came on. And that's the same with tonight as well. He scored a really good goal tonight. And on Sunday, he really took control of the midfield. I think Skip is obviously a good footballer somewhere inside him. But whether it is the culture of the club, the team, he doesn't seem to work at Leicester. Now, maybe that'll get better throughout the season, but I think if you start the first two games of the season and you come off at halftime, both of them, I think he came off at halftime tonight, or certainly quite early on in the second half. I don't think that's a good start to the season for him.
Were you surprised he started today?
I was a little bit. I mean, I guess you could argue that it's the League Cup, playing against a League One team. Maybe it would be good to just get him back in the team, get a few more minutes. But if the same thing has happened again, is he going to start at the weekend again? Why would you not start Winks, given that he's been our best player for the last two games? It'd be a really strange decision to start Winks on the bench unless there's some kind of fitness issue with him. I'm not exactly sure.
I think that's the main reason with Skip. I think it's mainly because Winks probably will play at the weekend. I like actually how Skip and Samari started today, because I thought they were absolutely dreadful on Sunday, like really poor. I thought the whole side was really poor in the first half. Fair play to Sheffield Wednesday, fans staying away, the vast majority. I do question the Sheffield Wednesday supporters inside the stadium during the first 5 minutes, because there were a few, and then let's just say
that
there
was
were,
a
say,
safety
a couple
issue.
of hundred. What the fact that there were some inside still?
Sky Sports was saying that there was only a certain amount of fans allowed in all of the different sections, so there was only something like a certain number in the bar. I think they called it the concourse, a certain number outside, which meant that a certain number had to be in.
So they had to be moved from the concourse into their seats. That was
basically.
It was. I mean, I wouldn't have liked to have been that Sheffield Wednesday supporter, because the pictures, they were like, Pete, why are you in your seat? And I'm like, well, I was told to by a steward. But well done everyone. A big round of applause from Leicester fans as they came in, etc. And the Wednesday fans were brilliant, weren't they? And I thought Sheffield Wednesday were. It was more than obvious after the red card, and also because they've had no preseason games, that they were going to tire late on. And then we brought all the players off the bench, and well, there you go. We were going to win the game. I just think I look at it and just go, it echoes of Coventry in two years ago, which I said was the most important game that season, because we got to get off to a winning start, and we did so in very, very similar fashion. We were lethargic first half. Now the midfield, I'm going to say it right now. Samare, I just can't see it. The guy who must be absolutely fantastic in training, he's never done it. He has never done it, and he never will. He won't. He needs to leave. They need to move him on, hopefully, because I think he's just a passenger, even in the Championship. You can put on YouTube a 5-second highlight reel, fine, or 10-second him doing a turn or something. It doesn't matter. He needs to go. And I'm not saying that it's his reason that Skip was poor, because I thought Skip was poor, but those two do not work. And I thought we saw the value overall in the whole performance of a few senior players, of Harry Winks especially, who needs to start. 2 years ago, he played with his slippers on in that league. He really did, didn't he? He played with his slippers on, and he's the one player who can receive the ball, plenty of space. He can turn, he can twist, he can play the ball sideways, and he can play the ball forward. Something that Samari can't do, because that means you've got to pass the ball accurately. And also Skip, who's got a bad tendency of just moving sideways and backwards. Forwards is maybe not his gear. But I still think we haven't seen Skip and Winks together. That's the midfield for me. I don't understand why they haven't played together. I thought we were slow, we were ponderous in the first half. But then after that, I thought we were very good in the second half. The two wingers especially. Mavididi, he got the ball. He didn't actually work out for Mavididi on a few occasions. Slightly unlucky on 1 or 2 occasions, especially when he had that run into the penalty area. And he wanted to get on his right foot, but he was off balance and he ended up shooting with his left. And I thought Fatawu was excellent all game. But the one player for me away from Winks, it has to be Ayew, because as much as he's not Leicester's heir apparent to Jamie Vardy, even though he's younger, he's a 35-year-old number 9. But we saw in the whole game what he's about in this league. We know what he's about in the Premier League, but in the Championship, it's obviously slower. And because he's a good player and he's had a great career, he can, and he's got a great attitude, which is the main thing. He works hard. He closes people down. He will pass well. He will work hard to get back in his own penalty area in the 94th minute. He will take free kicks, and on the odd occasion, he got it on target on a few occasions. He will get on the end of things. Yes, he's 35. He's not the dynamic centre forward I think we still need. But my word, he's going to be a very important and useful player this season. Winks, especially in midfield. And then we'll come on to the centre halves. And I think that's the one area of the side where, and we're a long way away from the end of the transfer window. And I think overall, there's going to be so many comings and goings still that we will touch on a few still. But the likes of Akoli, who I thought was quite dreadful, really. Let's get it right. I think Vestergaard, and I still think he should be the number 1 centre half in the Championship. Okay, and I know he should have scored with the header, but he took his goal really well for a centre forward to sort out his feet. Good finish in the end. And Walt Vass, I'm very much torn on, because if he plays, if Leicester turn around and the manager turn around to Walt and go, look, you're going to stay and you're going to be alongside Yannick Vestergaard again. You two are the main centre halves with Nelson. We want you to stay. Do you want to stay? And he says yes. Then you've got a player. Forget about what he's done in the Premier League. It doesn't matter. It's what he can do in the Championship. And if you remember 2 years ago, he's too good for the Championship. And we saw again, I know it was a header from a corner, but still, he scored. He's going to be one of the best defenders in the Championship. I'm not bothered about next season, because he won't be there next season. It's just for now. And if he wants to be there, we saw the reaction after the goal with him and the fans. If he wants to be there and wants to play and wants to try and get another league winners medal, then I'm all for it. But it's the centre halves they need to sort out. And if that means getting rid of Akoli, then fine. And if he goes off to AC Milan, fine. But that's the area of the field where I think the players need to know who is going to play and if they're going to remain, I reckon, Sam. That's the area that kind of not concerns me, but I think needs to be sorted out the most, as well as players in the squad still need being trimming.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw Sheffield Wednesday's press conference after the match against Wednesday, when he was asked about Belfast's goal celebration, cup in the air.
Yeah.
And he said, yeah. He said, I kind of get it. I understand that he's had a bit of a rocky relationship. But he said, but I'm not bothered at all what's happened before I got to the club. That's irrelevant to me. He said, I see him in training. He's working hard. He's playing well. And he said, the relationship with the fans is something that we'll try to rebuild. But he has to know that the relationship with the manager is excellent. And he said, that's all I'm bothered about. And he played well today. And if he keeps playing well, then fantastic. He's going to keep playing.
Absolutely.
And that's
and also
exactly
the
what you want
fans.
to hear.
The fans will be on his side. If he starts on Saturday, if there's maybe not a press release, but if there's word that Walt Vass is going to stay this year, maybe a little interview with the club, or maybe he declares that he's going to stay this year and he plays alongside Yannick Vestergaard, I'm sure he'll get cheered by the Leicester fans.
Well, if there's one thing we know, football fans are fickle.
Exactly.
So if he plays well, then he will get cheered. I think you're definitely right. He is like, I mean, he's almost like a pound. This is going to sound really harsh, a Poundland David Luiz. But I think he's more than good enough to play centre back in the Championship. He's clearly not good enough to play at Premier League, but we're not in the Premier League, so just worry about today.
It doesn't matter at all. There's about 8 or 9 players out of contract at the end of this season. We're going to do a Sunderland. If we get promoted, we're going to have a brand new side. Vestergaard goes. Walt Vass goes. Obviously, Daka might go now. These will all go. Probably someone like Winks will go. They're all going to go. Samara, if he's still there, he'll go. It's going to be a completely different side. Ayew will be gone. They could ever read their contracts, they'll be up. They'll all go. It's going to be a completely different side if they get promoted. But of course, you've got to get promoted. And I just think Vestergaard is vastly important, so important, especially with his height. And I think Walt Vass, of course, he's going to make mistakes. But in this league, he's got the physical attributes because he looks lightning in this league. He looks really quick. And because of his confidence, some of the games last year, 2 years ago, he just stood out a mile and he looked a little bit arrogant with it. Well, why not? If you're that good a player, that's fine. And again, it doesn't matter what's happened in the Premier League and the mistakes before. Away from that, I do worry about Fatawu and Everton because if they really want him, he's going to cost a lot of money. I want a price, Sam. You are Leicester City, okay? You're pulling you got the purse. The Leicester City wallet is open, okay? How much money do you want being put in to that wallet for Fatawu to move?
Am I a Leicester City fan or am I Leicester City director of football who's staring at a massive hole in PSR violations?
I say to you that Abdul Fatawu is going to move to Everton tomorrow, and what would be the amount that you want me to say that where you go? Okay, yeah, he's going to a Premier League club. Okay, but also we've got actually a pretty good price there.
Well, I'll tell you, I saw that Everton were looking at Dibbling at Southampton, and their valuation was £45 million. And Everton Everton didn't want to match it. And I thought, would you rather have Dibbling or Fatawu? I'd rather have Fatawu.
Don't ask me because I said last year that Tyler Dibbling is one of the best young players that I've seen for an awful long time, along with Monger, obviously. But I think Dibbling is absolutely quality. So I think Dibbling is 45 million. But okay, I would say 45 million. I think 45 million is about right for Fatawu. If they turn around and said, I was going to say 50, but I think in if you take off a Championship level 45 million, I can't see any reason why an overall package can't be somewhere around that. What about you, James? What price would you say for Fatawu?
I can't really see a world in which we're getting 45 million for him. I think you might argue that he hasn't played a lot of football while he's been in England at Premier League level. Is that going to push the price down? I think ultimately it will come down to the cost analysis of, do we want the money coming in for the PSR plus taking his wages off against he is our best creative player? Do we just not sell him on the basis that he's going to be one of the main people to take us up? I think, Everton on a bit of a spend this year, and they've paid a lot of money for Jack Grealish. Well, to have Jack Grealish at the club for a year, City have forced in a 50 million fee at the end of the season if they want to keep him. So are they going to have that in mind? I think if I was Rudkin, I would resign, obviously. But I think if you got a 30 million offer with some extras and a big chunk of cash up front, I think Leicester
it'll have
could be
to be all
tempted
up
by
front.
that.
Yeah, I think it'll have to be all up front if it was 30 million. Because again, we signed him. I know we're in the Premier League for 18 odd million. So we'll see. We'll see with him.
I think Rudkin would snap your hand off for 30 million, and I think he'd take 20.
Yeah, he probably would. Yeah, in fact, he'll say, "Actually, no, not 30 million. Take 20. You know, we're all friends." But obviously we need him because he's going to be such a good player this year in the Championship. But he looked electric. He really did on Sunday. A real plus points. Plus points as well that I actually have written down, a few little notes. I wrote down Fatawu, Winks. I use attitude, and then also Monga, because I thought when he came on, he looked great. And then today he's played, and I would really put on the back burner today's game. I'm quite happy we got knocked out in this way, because we can now, I know we can concentrate on the league, and it sounds awful when you say that, and it really does. And I've always been a fan of, you try and go far in the cup competitions, that's fine. But we didn't lose in 90 minutes. We scored a couple of goals, really good Chowdhury goal. And a few players, again, looked a little bit ragged. At the back, Nelson a few times. But again, I think with them, they just need a settled plan of who's going to be playing. So I'm not worried about defeat to a side who actually, they were the favourites for League One. They've won, I think, their first 2 games of the season and now 3. So they're going great guns, Huddersfield, and more than likely will be a Championship side next year. So I think overall, if you could ever lose a game in a manner, I think that's probably the best way, because we're played against the best club, a side who would beat, I think, a fair few teams in the Championship in this round. So I'm going to put my hands up and go, look, I'm not bothered. But the main talking point about tonight, and I want I want a 1 to 10 on this. I want an out of 10. How sexy is that pink shirt? That is some shirt. It really is. Now, obviously, on the front, we want King Power. I don't know who is going to be on the front, whether it's, and we'll come on to that when I know James is going to be all over it if it comes up with some dodgy Far East betting firm and that. We'll have a whole show on that, whole series. But that is some shirt, isn't it? It really is.
You want a number? I'm going to go with a cautious 8, and we'll see who the sponsor is. Could go up.
I like that. I like that. I like that. An 8, an 8. James, what do you reckon? It's the kit looks. It is a kit and a half, isn't it? The pink kit looked great a few years ago with the kind of the almost the West Germany kind of like going across, wasn't it? This is some shirt. I think this is proper stuff. Let's ignore actual football results or anything important. This is the important stuff.
I do really like the stripes. I think they are very lovely. Out of 10, I mean, it's not really something that I've considered about many football shirts, their sexiness. But I'll go for 7.
7, a cautious 7. I'm going for a full 9. I think it's a great shirt. I really do. And I didn't think the home shirts have been anything for the last few years, really. But I think it was the 2021 shirt, I think, which I've got behind me actually here. I think that's the last decent shirt we've had for a home shirt. Hopefully we get King Power on it. But yeah, big fan of the old pink shirt. Now, maybe the competition that we'll have in the next few weeks might revolve around maybe winning a shirt, but we'll see. We'll see what happens in the future. We're going to move on, and we're going to talk about a few players leaving. Now, I want, in the last few minutes of the show, because again, the big show with Pete Selby, the preview, also the FPL show. What a great FPL show. If you haven't listened to it, if you don't play FPL, you don't play fantasy football, listen back, and I bet you will. And if you do, make sure you listen and make sure you join the league. Social media, you'll find all the information there, Facebook or at FFS Pod on X, and also on Blue Sky as well. I want to know, yes or no, keep or get rid, quick fire, players in our squad. Right, Sam, a Coley, keep or get rid?
Get rid if the money's right.
James?
Keep.
I'm the same as Sam. I'm like, get rid. If you get 20 million, brilliant. You snap your hands off. I think we've got cover in that place, and we could do with the money. El Canoes, someone we haven't mentioned so far, but El Canus, who's rumoured to have a release fee of around about 30 million. We've all seen the stories. I think it was John Percy in the Telegraph who's absolutely mustard. He mentioned that, and that expires at the end of the week, so we can hold out for 30. We can then go for more, whatever. El Canus for 30 million.
Keep. I'm surprised he's still there, but keep. I think he's a player.
I would keep, although if his release clause expires, Newcastle are extremely desperate, and I could see them going 40, 45, particularly as it gets close to the end of September. I would take that for him, but I would think if they pay the release clause, they pay the release clause, but I would keep him.
Okay, I'm very much 50-50. For me, I would keep him because I think he is promotion, but also if someone comes in with a bid after his 30 million release clause goes and they go in 45-50 because they're desperate, I think it might be you have to do it just because it's 50 million. And also I think the player would probably want to go as well, even though he's saying the right things. You have to lose one player out of two, Fatawu or El Canus. Sam?
I'll lose El Canus. Keep Fatawu.
James?
Oh, that's a tough one. Yeah, I'll agree with Sam. Keep Fatawu.
Off the top of your head, Sam, you need to lose 3 players from the squad right now. Who goes?
Decordova, Reeve, Samari, and Skip.
James, you're driving out of the club. You need to give a lift to 3 players. They have to leave. They have to get in your car. Who are they?
Before they get in the car, do I have to tell them that I don't have a driving license?
That's fine. It doesn't matter.
They just
some of them have been in a car crash on the field, let alone off the field. Come on.
Samare, I'm sad to say, but I think Skip should go. And I wouldn't be that bothered if Daka left.
Well, that was going to be my next question. I mean, Samare's in the front seat of my car. His missus is in the back, and his family are in another car as well. I'll pay for a taxi for him. I think he just needs to go. They need to figure out the centre halves. So I'm going to say a Coley because I think that gives Vass and also Vestergaard more confirmation that they're the centre half choice with Nelson as well. I think they need to be told that. They need that. And then Suter might come along later. We'll see. But I would say a Coley because I think that would help the others. And also, I'm going to say Patson Daka because that would then hurry along the process of getting another centre forward. Are you happy if Patson Daka remains at Leicester and is the second centre forward to Ayew? Sam?
No. We need goals, and he's not going to score them.
James?
No, I mean, I think Daka's got, this really is a second-hand compliment. He's got a lot of heart, and I think Ayew is a decent championship player. But I think if we don't sign a striker who can score at least 10 to 15 league goals, then we are really going to struggle because I can't really see that. I can't really see 10 to 15 goals coming across that whole front line, really. As good as Fatu and El Canus are, you want 10 to 15 assists from them. We haven't got a double-figure goal scorer in the squad. Maybe Ayew. Maybe.
And my final quick-fire question, how many league games will it be before Monga starts ahead of Mavididi?
It'll be maybe when he turns 17 and his scholarship forms start. I would say within the first 10.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's I think Mavididi, it's obviously a big season for him because we know how good he is in this league. We know what he can do. He will need to contribute, and he'll need to contribute goals. That's one thing that Mavididi will need. He's got to be looking at well over 10 goals this season. He really does. And for Taru, as much as he can beat players, we will need goals from those two wide players. Okay, final question before you can fire anything back at me, and then we'll close the show because we're again approaching that magic half-hour mark. What's the one thing that you want to happen with Leicester before our next game in terms of playing style? What's the one thing that you would say? Would you change personnel in midfield? Would you change formation? What's the one thing that you can look at after 2 games and go, actually, I think just this needs to happen? Or are you actually quite confident? You're quite confident in the manager and what he's going to do and how we've been playing so far. What's the one thing that if you could change one thing, what would it be, Sam?
Very easy. Start Winks. I never want to see Samari and Skip start again together. I think it's just a terrible combo, and Winks just pulls the strings and makes us tick.
And I think it's interesting going back to what you were saying earlier about why having Winks and Skips. He isn't a crisp. Winks and Skip haven't played together. I think it's because Cervantes seems fairly wedded to 4-2-3-1, and I don't think Winks and Skips can play in a 2. I think they need a pivot behind them. So if he wants to be a bit flexible, I wouldn't mind seeing that as a 3 in the midfield just to see how that feels. But yeah, apart from that, I would like to see a start from one of the youth academies, whether that's Nelson, McAteer, if you can call him that, or Alvarez. Someone just do something a little bit different. I don't think we need to start Mavididi and on Saturday, or even Ayew. Just have a go with something.
See, for me, I think you both kind of roughly said the same thing. For me, it's Skip and Winks. I can't understand. I think both of them can play in a 2 behind a El Canoes. I think they've played together at Tottenham. They know each other. I still think that Skip was signed to play alongside Winks. No idea why that hasn't happened. It hasn't happened yet, and it just needs to. Obviously, Winks should start. I think he will. The fact that he was on the bench today means that he will on Saturday, and we'll get a score prediction because obviously this game has finished tonight, so recording just on a Wednesday night. So more than likely we won't be able to get a preview show out. Again, that's the way it's going to be this season with the Championship. Preston, I think they're one of the favourites to go down. I do think that they're a side that we can go and beat, and also looking at Skimp and Wicks, I know physically you don't have that wardrobe in midfield. I just don't think, and this might seem a little over the top or a little arrogant, but I just think because of the style of player that both of them are, I just don't think it matters. I think Winks he can handle himself. I think Skip can perfectly handle himself, and I think the quality that they have is more than enough to be able to pass through midfields. But when you pass into a guy like El Canoes, and hopefully he can drop a little bit deeper and help out and get involved a little bit more than he did in the first half on Sunday. And I think he will. Again, I'm not really interested in that first half. It's blowing the cobwebs off. Then I just think that we have better midfielders than most of the Championship teams. I just think that's the case. When we come up against a Southampton and Ipswich, maybe even a Birmingham, then maybe, yes, you might need a bit of physicality. You might need to change things around. But against most of the sides in the Championship, I think someone like a Skip and a Winks anchor in the midfield, I think that's absolutely fine. Absolutely fine.
I think Skip
Ayew is the number 9 as well.
Yeah, I think Skip is plenty physical for that role. And I think, let's not forget, when we're controlling possession, Yannick Vestergaard is a very good passer of the ball. And he's, as we saw against Wednesday, and we saw all of the Championship season before, he's very comfortable about taking the ball into midfield, playing balls to feet through the middle. So, he becomes that second pivot, and then Skip can go forward and be more like an 8 than a 6. I think that works really well in games where we're going to control possession for most of the game.
I think there's... go on, James.
Yeah, and I think Hamza, who I'm quite glad that he's become a human being who's just known by his first name. No one ever says Chowdhury. It's just Hamza. I think he's had quite a good start to the season, and I think it's interesting that Cervantes sees him as kind of a right back coming into midfield. And I think that's going to be an interesting story going forward, and how that might affect who plays in the central midfield. But yeah, I think in terms of Saturday, I just had a look, and Preston are 3-1 to go down. Yeah, I don't really know much about Preston, but away from home Saturday afternoon, I'm going to say 2-0
Sam?
to Leicester.
2-0. 2-0 to Leicester if Wink starts.
All right. Well, hopefully it's 2-0, because I was going to go 2-0 as well. Preston, if you remember last season, they drew 0-0 for about 10 games on the bounce. It was absolutely ridiculous. But they've lost some of their defensive solidity. I know they scored a really good goal at QPR at the weekend, but I just think it's one of those sides we can go to and win 2-0. Basically, it's what I was going to go with. Ayew to get on the score sheet, I think. But at this current time with Leicester, I think it's all change, isn't it? There's going to be players linked with all and sundry in the Premier League and elsewhere. I still think they'll be wanting to bring players in, and I think they will have targets, but I think they will need to shift off a few players as well. I think the side might look an awful lot different, maybe looking towards the weekend game in a week's time, maybe not this week because only a few days away. So stand by, lots of information. If anything dramatic happens, of course, we'll be here on For Fox's Sake, whether it's on the big show or the preview. Do make sure that you join us in our FPL league. That starts on Friday with the Premier League game between Liverpool and Bournemouth, I think it is. So make sure you join our league. You can find all the information there on For Fox's Sake on Facebook, on X at FFS Pod. You can find all the links there and the code, etc., etc. But anything else tonight from the big show, chaps?
It was great to see some youth in the game today. I thought Lewis Page was really good. Shame Will Alvarez didn't get on the ball, but yeah, hopefully Sheffield Wednesday is happy playing the youth a bit more.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's great to put out a team that has 3-4 players all under the age of 20. I think that's really exciting and really good for the club.
Yeah, I think if you could lose a game of football, this was the best game to lose early in the League Cup when you're in the Championship, but also to lose on penalties after playing okay and getting some of the youth playing and changing the side round, getting some more minutes into the legs. I think it's not bad at all. Also, I think the two big things for tonight, the really two big things that we've learned today. One, we've got a glorious pink kit. It's absolutely fantastic, especially if they get King Power on the front. And secondly, I just need the camera slightly lower because the gleam off my massive forehead was unbelievable for the first 10 minutes. So we've learned lots tonight about the world of Leicester on the big show with Pete Selby. Thanks to James. Thanks to Sam. We'll be back maybe with the preview before the weekend game, but again, it's only in a couple of days' time, so maybe we'll just hold fire. We'll be back with FPL. That'll be next week, looking all things game week 1 and how we've been doing in the league. We're going to get rolling with the champions 10 years on, talking all things the 2015-2016 season and how we started that season. And we'll be back next week with the big show. But from James, from Sam, and myself, Pete Selby, it's good night.